welcome. We have Elisabeth Johnson here. She's from Los Angeles, a transplant from Seattle coffee scene who manages Dayglow Coffee. She's been in coffee for 12 years and spent the last 10 as a coffee competitor. Recently, she finished out the tight race of the U.S. Coffee Championships with bronze, which is awesome. When she's not following her coffee dream, she's making music and memories with her almost 8-year-old daughter, Scarlett. But today, guys, we are actually drinking Elisabeth's competition coffee here, the Finca Deborah. This is a Panama coffee. It is delicious. We're going to be talking about this, but honestly, when I brewed it this morning, it was fantastic. Honestly, I was tasting so much peach, and when it cooled down, it was so good. Normally with like when coffee is cooled down, like where it's room temperature, they have like a cold feature, if that makes sense. Like it just, there's like it's just a wall of flavor that's really good, but this was so smooth all the way through. It was delicious. Shout out to Black and White Coffee Roasters out in North Carolina. Purchase this because it's limited, and so it's already too late for you to enjoy it, but tell us about this coffee, what you know about it. I know this is your competition coffee, and you're no stranger to Black and White, and they're just fantastic.
I got super lucky with this coffee where Kyle kind of called me and was like, hey, listen, I know that normally we would be cupping coffees and kind of deciding, but the decision's kind of already been made for you because this coffee producer, his name is Jameson Savage, wants to help sponsor some of your competition coffee if you're, using his coffee this year. And it's, WBC winning coffee. Yeah. So it's won worlds before. It's placed very high in the past, and it was kind of like too good to pass up. And
so it's kind of like sixes. It's like,
oh my gosh,
all this is here already for you. But that's awesome.
But I instantly was so excited because I absolutely love geishas from Panama. It's like, one of the first like most mind-blowing coffees that I had. Yeah. And then also like I had just had this crazy trip to Panama and like all of these things kind of intertwined, and I was like, no, you have no idea how excited I am to serve this coffee, because I think he was a little bit worried I might be bummed that the decision was made.
Is that where you had recently went? Is that where you recently went? The most recent trip?
Or like a year ago in May.
Okay.
So yeah, just about a year. Yeah.
So real fast, guys, for context. So we've talked about different brew methods and different things, and we'll talk about what a symbiosis. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
It sounds like an X-Man or something like that. There's so many different, even the last episode, we talked about a different fermentation process. Like every episode, I'm seeing a bag that we're featuring, and it's like, what is this? So let me show you guys real fast. So this coffee, right? So first off, explain to us the tasting notes of it as they can read it, as well as what in particular the process, symbiosis, geisha. It's probably something familiar we've talked about, but it's just another word that I'm seeing for the first time.
Yeah, so tasting notes, orange blossom, fuzzy peach, fresh cherry, cocoa nibs. It's all like quite complex within those tasting notes. Orange blossom is more of an aromatic experience of the coffee, but aroma and taste are two things that are highly tied. So it helps kind of understand the experience even as a tasting note when it's more of a aroma. Peach, we said fuzzy peach because as far as describing kind of like the textural experience of this coffee, it has like it's very creamy or silky, kind of depending on the water that you're drinking.
Yeah. Okay.
But it has this like kind of velvety, like fuzzy kind of characteristic that also comes out. And so we really liked, because peach is such a dominant flavor in this coffee, to call it peach, because it's kind of
like even the aftertaste is like, it's just peach. It's just like,
for sure. And then cherry, obviously there. Cocoa nibs, it's kind of more present in the finish when you think about like a coffee that finishes kind of dry, like cacao, but not like dry your whole mouth out in an unpleasant kind of way. It's just a part of the experience.
Perfect. And then the process of it, so symbiosis, what exactly is that?
Yeah, so it's a natural anaerobic. So what that means, natural, it's whole cherry anaerobic without oxygen. For this exact process, the whole cherries are temperature controlled and sealed tanks.
Okay.
As with, many producers specific processing, they have kind of their own trade secrets. So
Right.
it's not like I necessarily know or can tell you like every single detail of this process.
Yeah.
But it's it's his take on a natural anaerobic. So it's like a long process, slow with a low temperature, which kind of helps kind of keep the
Okay.
microorganisms.
Yeah, because the last episode with Preston, we had a coffee as well where they froze the cherries for a certain amount of time, and that was a part of their. I think they treated it both anaerobic and then threw it in. I don't know. There's so many different sort of new things that are coming out, and but this coffee was just fantastic. Just to go over the way we specifically brewed it. So we asked you what you preferred it on or enjoyed it on. We did the Kalita Wave. So for those that are watching that have not heard of a Kalita Wave, this is it. It's a flat bottom brewer. This is a 155, I believe, which is the smallest ones they have, or maybe it's like the middle ground one. You could probably throw in it's like 15 grams of solid. I've pushed it to like 20. It's risky, but it was delicious either way. It's just a small filter specifically for this here. A really good brew method in particular. So this morning we brewed it normal, and then because a friend of yours, Ryan, said it was really delicate, I ended up using a mellow dripper just to prevent any sort of extra agitation or anything like that. And it was just as delicious with a mellow dripper. So again, this is just a tool that allows just low agitation when you're pouring with your gooseneck. Okay, so again, with brew methods, having a pour over, you want to have a gooseneck. Why do you want to have a gooseneck, Elisabeth? Control, precision, featuring the high model of Fellow. But this is any gooseneck will work, absolutely, as long as it's got a spout here that you can do, and then the temperature of the water is adjustable for that. Just so you guys can get the tools that you need for that. So that's fantastic. Again, guys, this was from Black and White. They don't have this coffee online anymore, but they have so many delicious coffees, so many good coffees that they have on their website. Okay, and then that brings us, so outside of competitve that you focus on, you work at Dayglow at a location that you manage. Tell us about Dayglow, because I've visited that shop. If you're in Los Angeles and you didn't know the shop existed, it exists, and it is a fantastic shop for quality coffee, and then some really cool roasters that they feature on their retail bags.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 retail locations. We have 2 shops in LA and 1 in Chicago. And the majority of our business is actually an online subscription service. So our, main focus is international roasters. So you can, get a subscription box every month. It'll have, you kind of can choose a tier, but 3 different coffees from different roasters all over the world, which is really cool because it kind of bundles your shipping costs, as well as kind of, opens the door to have you try different coffees that maybe you've never heard of. And the coffees are really carefully sourced, and it's always really, really good stuff. So our, my shop, the one that I manage, is kind of more our flagship location. So we always feature whatever features are on the monthly feature. So we have a really big menu, coffees that change all the time. It is definitely a destination coffee shop for coffee people, but something to enjoy for everyone, like every level of coffee drinker. I think we just have really big selection of different coffees from all around the world. And I know for me as a visitor, when I first moved to LA and just kind of walked in the door and was like, oh, I remember Dayglow. It's definitely like a barista's Candyland, because there's just so much, to see, and so much in terms of different coffees from everywhere. It's like,
oh my gosh, it's like
different packaging and branding and being
I'm like, there's so many coffee roasters outside of the United States that do so well. They find just delicious coffees and they profile them just incredible. Like I'm not kidding. Me, my wife, and our family went there to Disneyland, and then we had some time to travel around Los Angeles to stop at some coffee shops. And I was like, oh, I gotta go to Dayglow. Went there, and I bought like 9 bags of coffee. I'm like, I'm going on, because you can't get those coffees. I mean, you can, but we're also in a time like pandemic wise where like people aren't shipping necessarily, or it just costs a lot to ship. Right. Yep. And so that you guys had them there, I'm like, I'm buying I think I got like Coffee Collective, like like it probably took me like 3 months to finish all those bags because I just had them. But
Yeah.
I was just like, these were just so good. And so there's definitely, I wish that you guys had, I think it was a time that you didn't have it, but you've had her before, Tailor Made Coffee,
Yeah,
which is
we have
just
tailor made. Yeah.
fantastic. Like, I'm hoping to talk to her here on soon, but it's a really cool spot. So if you're ever in Los Angeles, guys, like go check it out. Google, find the address. And seriously, it's just a fun experience just to see everything and go in, and you can go in and ask questions. And if you've never had delicious coffee, ask. And like, oh, there's just so many, it was so fun to just go, you know? Perfect. Okay, so today's episode, guys, is about competitive coffee scene, right? A lot of people don't know. It's just like anything. There's always a niche, right? There's always like this field of people that are incredibly passionate about it, that have a huge expo, and it's just coffee. It's just like an automotive expo, or you know, a specific like for shoes. People don't realize there's like expos for shoes, and people are crazy about shoes. Like they know shoes, like Nike's this, Nike's that, and they sell them, and it's like a floor of just shoes everywhere. Coffee's probably cooler to me, but it's out there. So briefly, guys, so there's the SCA, which is the Specialty Coffee Association. There's a lot of people that are a part of it. They throw on an expo, which the expo floor is just filled with different coffee roasters, different manufacturers of tools for farms, tools for roasters, the newest trending whatever. There's like cup manufacturers, everything that you can think of. Starbucks is there, there's other brands there, and then there's coffee roasters. And we were talking briefly before this that I actually remember meeting you when I went to SCA in Seattle, and you were at the Rocket booth pulling coffee, and this was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So like people like you who either were probably at the time using a Rocket, or they were looking for workers to do that. Baristas that are in specialty coffee, they get to travel to Expo and pull shots for everybody, and it's a lot of fun. It's what's been your experience at the Expo and doing it, you know, over the years?
Yeah. As far as Expo is concerned, I think that was my first year at Expo. I had been competing in coffee and other events like Coffee Fest. My first
Yeah.
competition was Coffee Fest 2010, latte art competition. And then Bluebeard, who you saw me pulling shots with, I worked for them for 3 years, and then my last year there was the first year that I did Coffee Champs. So what you're talking about that happens at Expo, or did happen at Expo this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a fun experience that they do yearly. I mean, they usually do it like on the east side and then the west side. Seattle's very common to do it just because Seattle's kind of a hub right there. And it's a lot of fun to go and get over caffeinated, and because people are just pulling shots and you're connecting with people. And that was when I started getting into specialty coffee. So it was really cool to see all these other people who collectively enjoy the same thing, quality coffee. Right. But what was tied with that this year is the competition that you did. So briefly go into the competition that you did, and then other ones, because I know like there's latte art, and then like there's the roasters and all that. If there's any other ones that are not there, like list them, because I don't know all of them.
So Coffee Champs hosts a variety of different competitions. So there's a roasting competition, Brewers Cup, which is pour overs, Coffee and Good Spirits, which is like coffee cocktail competition.
Oh, that's cool.
There's cup tasters.
Yeah.
I've also done a couple years. And then the latte art one is new for SCA.
Okay.
It's been at Worlds, but this is
I
think the first year we had our own. And then what I did, the Barista Championships, was an espresso based competition.
Right. So again, guys, if you were listening to that, the latte art, if you can see, you can actually see, I can move the thing a little bit here. I'll move it here. That right there, that is basically latte art provided by Brewology, which they have some fantastic artwork. But people compete to do that. It takes time to freaking steam milk properly. I still can't do it after all these years. I still fail at making a freaking tulip or something, or even a heart. So people practice this and perfect it as well, like the cup tasting. So right, people have developed a palate for distinguished coffees, the locations of it. Usually, like from what I know, they have to kind of pinpoint the origin of the coffee, correct? Um, and like the process of that. Is that what?
Tasters?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have to answer any questions about the coffee. A cup tasters is you have 6 sets of cups. Each set has 3 cups. 2
Mhm.
are the same, one is
Oh,
different.
yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, but they do have to. I mean, they can probably, for the most part, tell between the different processes, right? That's usually an indication. So they practice all this, right? Because you just can't go up to random cups and be like, "Oh, this." I mean, you can if you're skilled enough. You can technically, right? Because I'm
It's
sure.
a competition. You
Yeah,
cannot think about it. You have
yeah,
to go.
exactly. They do that as well, and then your particular competition, I feel like, is the most like intense because you're. How long is your routine? What are the main factors that contribute to deciding what you decide to make? I mean, there's a lot of different aspects that go into creating a routine to stand out. So talk about that.
Yeah. So it's a 15-minute presentation. There are 26 pages of rules,
Oh, good.
have 7 judges, and it's a points-based system. So
Right.
you're trying to play the system to get as many points as you can get.
Right.
Um, so you serve 3 courses: espresso, milk, so like a cappuccino,
Right. Milk
the
base.
signature drink, which also has to be espresso based, and you have to create all of these drinks with the score sheet in mind. So, how am I going to choose a coffee that can score me the most points? How am I going
Right.
to extract it
Present it. Yeah.
score me
Like,
the most points?
yeah.
Yeah. With milk, how do I pair it with the right milk? Like I went
Oh
through
my
so
gosh. Yeah, I remember watching that. I'm like, what is she doing? Like,
uh-huh.
so there's a lot that goes into this. Okay, chat. Like, there is a lot that goes into it. Like the judges, there's people watching you pull shots, weighing everything. Like, it's all very precise, right? Like, there's someone that's making sure you're not. Like, I'm sure there's like a cleanliness point system,
Oh
right?
yeah.
On the
There's
bar, like, there's
of your
little
7
details.
judges, there's
There's 5 in your face,
2 that are
basically.
just standing behind you with a clipboard, writing down anytime that you,
Did you hear any
leave a
sighs like,
fingerprint,
hmm?
grab something wrong, drop a couple coffee grounds. Like in every time that you are like pulling a shot of espresso, right? So you dose it out. If you spill anything, points off.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
you put your tool on to distribute and you spin it twice and then 3 times on the other one, you get knocked
What?
off.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. She was like,
And then you have to tamp perfectly level.
that's true.
And I didn't even tamp by hand this year. I used a machine. I used a puck press
Oh,
because that's points, right? So it's
really?
all
It
play the game to
really?
get
Why
points
would a puck machine?
because it has to tamp level. There's no user
I
error.
guess so. Does everybody use it, or do people still?
It's pretty new for it to be.
That's insane that they would allow like a precise tool.
Oh, yeah,
Right? For those that don't know, so a puck, is it called a puck press?
yeah.
So basically, like this was probably the last like maybe 4 or 5 years this was around. If I remember, it was probably around before, but like where everybody started purchasing, or they would have it at their shops or whatever. Basically, if you think like a blender size tool, smaller, but you put your portafilter there and it tamps it to the right to whatever you've created it to be. So it just makes it more consistent, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I can't believe they allow that. Okay, so they're watching everything, right? Which is crazy. Yeah. Okay, so then we get to the presentation portion. Wait, first we're gonna talk about the milk situation because you were like testing like a bunch of different. What were you doing? She has photos like a wall of just like milk carton that are just like dripping or doing something or like what were you doing?
So you have to use cow's milk.
Okay, that's good.
But what a lot of people have found scores really well in competition is freeze distillation, or more correctly, freeze concentrated milk. So when you're looking at different milks at the store and you're like, okay, I have non-fat milk, I have 2% milk, I have whole milk, I have half and half, which is 15%. You know, you can get different fat percentages, but it doesn't change the ratio of like the sugars or the proteins. It's just more fat. In fact, higher fat milk has less sugar. And in the competition, you want the sweetest milk. So if you freeze milk and then you thaw it slowly, what remains frozen is mostly
fat, right?
ice
or ice too. Okay.
Water.
Okay.
So what you're doing is removing a certain percentage of the water from the milk to make the milk more sweet and creamy and rich.
That is crazy. Is this like a new thing? Or has this been like over the last?
It's been done for at least I think the past 5 years.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
I think Ben Putt was the first person who did it, and he's a Canadian barista champion.
Ooh, we have some Canadian people in our community. Shout out to Canada.
Nice.
That's insane. Okay, that makes sense. Well, it doesn't make sense, but it's for the points. That's what matters. Yeah. That is like, that's crazy. Kainos' wife. Wait, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
So not only was I practicing because I wanted to find what milk I wanted to use, but also I was trying to see exactly what ratio of freeze concentration tasted the best with my coffee, because not all milks pair the same with different coffees. Like some milks made my coffee taste amazing, some not so much.
All right, babe, if you're watching, we're going to go to the store. We're going to get every type of whole milk, and we're going to freeze all of them and slowly thaw them out. That's insane.
You absolutely should try it. It tastes incredible.
That's crazy. I was wondering what you were doing. I'm like, what is with the milk? Like, are you trying to clear out the jug to make sure you can? So did you take it with you?
The tasting notes for how people say that their coffee tastes with this milk. Like my tasting notes were cooked cherries, milk chocolate, melted ice cream, waffle cone, and Lord. I called it as cherry Garcia ice cream.
What?
Yeah. So if you think about it,
that's
you're
crazy.
I freeze my milk.
That's worth it then.
I totally thaw it, and I put it with this coffee.
So how did you travel with that? What was your decision? Because you were deciding whether to.
Actually, because I was thinking I can fly with frozen milk. It will be thawed probably by the time I get there.
That's true.
But it just really rapidly goes off after you freeze it and then thaw it. So I was like,
that's true,
I might do round 1 well, but not 2 or 3. So actually, when I went to North Carolina, this is a crazy story, okay? So I went to North Carolina, and Kyle from Black and White was like, surprise, we're going to go on a field trip. So we actually went to North Carolina State University's food science department.
And they got storages of it.
Department. And so we took milk that he brought, one that had not been frozen as like our control, and then one after freeze distillation. And this scientist, who's a dairy expert, his whole career is dairy.
Of course.
Put it through a machine to tell me like how much fat, sugar, protein did it have before I freeze distilled it, how much did it have afterwards. And then Kyle drove this milk from North Carolina to Boston.
What a guy. That's insane.
I know.
He gets pulled over. Sir, what's in the container? Frozen milk.
Baristas are insane about their milk.
Oh my gosh, that's insane.
The coffee man, Sasha Sesic, he actually was tripping so hard about his milk that he flew an employee out from home to the competition with milk to compete with, and he won.
That is insane. Okay, so that's just the milk, guys. We haven't even gotten to the other methods.
That's the least amount of points.
I know. I'm over here. This whole milk from Kroger looks fine. No, that's insane. Okay, so that's a really cool coffee to, as far as like, you know, Cherry Garcia, so that people know, because you want to associate the experience with it. Okay, so the espresso portion, right? That's your coffee. That's this guy here, right? That you pulled. Was there anything that you did in particular to, or did you just present them the espresso in their cup and all that?
I did something fun.
Okay.
First of all, I really wanted them to drink it at a lower temperature.
Makes sense.
So I had a friend come in real clutch and custom make me all my espresso cups like a few days,
Oh yeah,
like a
okay. Okay.
competition. Yeah. Because I was like, the cups that I was using were not working. And I really needed a thicker walled cup to just like suck all the heat out of it.
Okay. Wow.
That was one strategy. And two, I used a tool called it's called a compass. It's just a laser thermometer.
Uh-huh.
It's actually made by Sasha Sestic, who I was talking about. He's so crazy about
Okay.
barista competition. Love that for me. He made a tool
Yeah.
that is, intended to help you score better points because it's like a saucer basically with a thermometer, and you put your espresso cup in there and it will tell you the exact temperature of your espresso. So I served all of my espressos to the judges on these saucers with the thermometer.
Oh
And
wow.
asked them to stir it until it reached that temperature.
Whoa, that's cool.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, because everybody else is just like stirring it and they're not aware. But you
They
got
tell
them
you to
focused
stir
on
like
it.
20 times because
Yeah.
they want to get the temperature down.
That's true. That I've seen that where you want to stir this, then
Yeah.
they count.
That's what
it,
I've
right?
done every year until now.
Wow. Extra points, baby. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then your next drink is a milk-based drink. What did you do there?
The milk drink again?
Right.
Big drink.
The which one? Oh, I guess we talked. Well, did you do anything special, or was it just yeah?
I think the ratio.
Besides the
is-
milk, like the details of it.
I think the ratio is really critical here. It's really, really hard to figure out what the judges want. You're
That's
like,
true, 'cause
you
again,
want
everything.
a harmonious balance of espresso and milk.
Right.
And many years I would get knocked down because they'd say my milk tasted too milky. And I would say, what does that mean? What do you mean it tastes too milky? But it's about like how the foam in the milk is integrated with the espresso. Is it espresso dominant? Do you get all the flavor? Is it balanced?
So can you choose whatever milk-based beverage that you want? It just has to be
milk, and you can choose the size that you want, but it's really a very specific window of size that will do well.
right.
If it's too large, you're kind of hopeless because there's no way that like a 5-ounce drink is not going to wash out the amount of espresso that you have because it's a single espresso.
Yeah.
So I landed on like, I think 110 mils or grams, tiny cup. It's really hard to find that exact size. There's very few.
But you had those cups though, which is, or no, that was just for the espresso though.
Made the cap cups I found on Etsy.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, and I was just wondering because I don't know that portion if there's like a set of parameters that you can do, or if it's just strictly milk and espresso, and then you decide your ratio essentially.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's just espresso and milk. You decide your ratio, and they don't tell you what will win. But when you go enough years,
what's been done in the past? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like for me, it was like, okay, I know what I did that worked. I know what I did that didn't work. I see what other people who won did. So I can make a pretty good assumption that I think they want between like 110 to 130 mils.
Right. That's perfect. Okay. Real fast again, guys. If you're just joining us, this is Coffee Lab episode 6. We're talking the competitive scene where people compete to be the best barista, to pull the best shot, to pour the best, to brew the best coffee, all of it. If you have questions, there's chat there. Ask questions. This is blowing my mind because we just talked about milk for like 10 minutes, about special milk that you need to have and all that. Okay, so now the third presentation is your signature drink. Now, this is where people get crazy. They go like, people have done like, I know like maybe 3 years ago, it was really popular to bring your own your cotton candy machine, or like doing crazy things. You got to think like you want to impress the judges with presentation. And then obviously,
I lost your audio real quick. I'm not sure.
Oh, there we go. Don't worry. I freaking touched this part that's sensitive.
Oh no.
So with the signature drink, what did you do? And then we'll talk about like what we've seen in the past and the craziness of how the lengths that people go to stand out, or,
Yeah. Well, there's a bigger part of the puzzle than just the drink itself, which is your theme.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So your theme is your talking piece that kind of holds your whole
Right.
like
Okay. So, guys, we completely missed this portion. While she's making coffee, while she's delivering the coffee, they are talking for 15 minutes
I'm
straight.
getting a
Basically,
TED talk.
you're right. And so people they've talked about, oh, okay, this coffee that we're featuring, blah blah blah. I've picked this from this farm, and then they'll go into a story maybe of the farmer, like how he was in a drought season, or people will do everything right, and you're talking the whole time, guys. Okay, we missed that, which is important. It's not like you're just pulling coffee in silent and then they're drinking it. Like you're doing a whole TED talk of. So what was your theme, and then how did that make your signature drink your drink?
Yeah. My theme was trust.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to find the intersection of, what is something that is so important to me that it keeps me in coffee and not doing anything else.
Okay.
And how is that important with this exact coffee in mind? Like, how do I bring something to the coffee community that is bigger than just me and bigger than just this coffee, and that unites all of us essentially? And then it's important when you're building your signature drink to tie in everything that you're talking about and explain like why it's more important than just a drink, because
a bigger picture point,
a huge point in like the scoring system is synergy. So it's like, why can this drink only be made with this coffee? Like not just because of how it tastes, but also conceptually, like why. So for me, I had a vision of something that I wanted to make, and I knew, like that it was kind of a reflection of the coffee itself. A lot of coffee processing techniques are kind of stolen from the wine industry now, as people are becoming more innovative. As was mine, and the drink that I really wanted to make was a coffee take on a red wine.
Okay.
So I found, I did a lot of experimenting with non-alcoholic wines and figuring out what was in them. And then my goal was basically like, what flavors can I pair with my espresso to make these exact flavors that I want in my wine, because I wanted it to taste kind of like a natural wine. I was like, I want it to be raspberry, I want it to be pomegranate.
Okay.
I want it to kind of have the like tannic effect. Like I want it to taste like I'm drinking a wine. Ooh. And I did it.
You had like your cup, and then you had like a thing, and then you had like a torch, and then you're like,
so the thing I was worried about is like, I'm gonna light something on fire right in front of their face.
And you burned yourself too. So
that wasn't actually from the fire.
Was it from the?
It was from one of my other ingredients.
Oh, okay.
But it's pretty bad. I keep like looking at it.
I lost an arm, but it was worth the signature drink.
Or anyone else. But yeah, so the whole theme being trust and kind of leading up to that, like, trust me.
Yeah. You're holding the fire to their face. Trust me. This is trust.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was bigger than that. I think it's hard to like recap how I thought through like every piece of it without being like, watch it. But
I know. Well, hopefully
stuff will kind of make more sense. I see where she was coming from there.
Yeah. We're just missing the context of your TED talk, basically. So hopefully they repost these, and I'm like, I'll watch them, because it's a lot of fun to see. It was cool to see it live, but it's also fun to see it on live stream and stuff. And I'm sad that they didn't do that this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's crazy. See, guys, the competitive. This is, and again, I think the competition that you did is a lot. There's a lot to it. It's not just brewing your. Do you know for like the pour over champs or whatever, like when you're brewed coffee, do they have to give a presentation like that? Or isn't theirs just they make it and then judges score it and all that?
There is. I mean, I have done Brewers Cup twice, but just for the preliminaries.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been like, this is my decision. Do I do barista again, or do I do brewers?
Right.
Do both of them at preliminaries, and then be like, nah, I'm doing barista. But you do give a speech, yes.
Okay.
However, the barista competition, I kind of like half jokingly, but seriously say it's like a pageant.
Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit. Tell them on like, why should I represent the United States at Worlds And brewer's cup is much more about the coffee.
Yeah.
Barista is more about
The
the
United. Yeah.
industry.
Right.
It's like, what does this mean to the coffee industry, and how can I elevate the coffee industry as who I am? There's a lot of like bias as well. Like they do anti-bias screening, but like humans are inherently biased. Like you cannot undo that,
Yeah.
you know? And in a competition where your whole goal is like, how do we choose the person that we think should represent us? It absolutely affects how they score you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I get what you're saying.
I don't believe that it's purely an unbiased points-based decision making.
You'd have to like grab complete strangers that are not a part of the industry to make it, you know, like a jury. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, I saw that murder on the news, and now you're tainted by all these facts, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I even had to think about like, how do people see me in the coffee industry, and how do I get them to see me in my routine? Because in the past, all of my routines have been very different from each other.
Right.
For different reasons. Yeah.
Right. So again, guys, she was competing to go to World Championship, correct? That's what the final competition was, which is crazy because there's people from all across the world that compete in the same sort of format as far as a 15-minute, right? Do they still do 15-minute presentation, all that?
Yeah.
Right. But in front of other people in the world, and you get to be a world championship, which is like crazy if you think about it for like the coffee, but it's kind of cool because it's like, wow, like the whole world's like, you're the best. That's cool. It's fun. And it's cool that you got to compete because you go through how many like preliminaries or pre-qualifiers do you guys have to go through? Because it's like they do the east side and then they do the west side and then they bring together the people.
Yeah, this year was unique. They didn't do any of that. They skipped it all. But typically there is a preliminary competition where it's like very low entry cost. Like the fee is like $30.
Yeah.
All of the equipment is provided. You don't need to like spend money buying all of your gear. It's very accessible. It's beautiful. I love it. It's kind of the closest thing that we have to a barista compulsory. In fact, like, I mean, like a test of your actual skill, because you have to attend a cupping and you cup your selection coffees, and everyone chooses from the same coffees that are available to them. Instead of having their company buy the most expensive coffee they possibly can, hours and hours into training, like, no, you get your coffee.
Yeah, you work with what you got. Yeah.
And you build a routine with a coffee you don't know anything about, and you present it the best that you can.
And that's what they've done in the past.
They do the preliminaries every year. Yeah. They do several of them. And I would say, I think preliminaries across the US, we start with about 300 competitors.
Yeah.
And then, so it's totally unnecessary. You don't have to do preliminaries, but it's beautiful. And I love it because it gives way more people a chance to like try it out.
Yeah.
And see if they like it with like a very low risk, because you don't have to spend a lot of money. And then the qualifiers is the competition to see if you can qualify to compete at nationals. So the qualifiers, if I remember correctly, allow, oh man, I think it's somewhere between 24 to 36 at each qualifier.
I think so.
Yeah, so it's 2 qualifiers. Usually that's like something West Coast or like Midwest or East Coast.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them. So you can choose which one you want to compete at. And then from there, they take the top, I believe, 18 from each to compete at nationals.
Right. Which is what this was nationals.
This was national. Yeah. This year they told us very last minute. It was, I think, less than 3 months from competition. They were like, surprise, we are going to do
surprise
here. And it's going to be a lottery system. So you all can put your name in a hat. And if you're so lucky, you can compete.
Interesting. That's an interesting way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. Like, I think for me, when I found out, I was like, I have to start practicing now.
Like yesterday.
I have to start practicing as if I'm participating. Yeah. Because if I wait until I find out that I got in, I will already be behind, and there's no way.
Yeah, of course. And that's with any like intense competition like this. Like, that's crazy. That's so cool though. How fun. And congratulations again. That's so cool. I know it's a lot of stress. I know it's a lot of like,
That's a lot. I think Yeah.
It's
This
a lot.
year especially was like, it was so little time to pull together a team and
Yeah.
to, get acquainted with the coffee and to put together all the stuff, like I feel like I barely pulled together my script and my routine and got like motions and stuff down.
Mhm.
And then I was there performing it in front of judges.
Yeah.
Like, here we are.
That's so cool. Okay. We are at the end of the show. This has been incredible. This year, and I would have never guessed people went to the lengths of freezing freaking milk
Yeah.
and
I could talk
melting
about this
it.
for like 5 more hours.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. But people have done crazy stuff. Just saying, people have done like they've gone to lengths to do things, and that's the point. You want to stand out too, and all that. So that is like awesome. So again, guys, this has been episode 6 of the Coffee Lab with Elisabeth Johnson. She's from Dayglow Coffee out in Los Angeles. If you're ever in the area, go find the shop. Literally buy a bag of coffee, go enjoy coffee. It's just really fun to be there. And thank you for joining us. On this episode, we talked about the competitive scene of coffee. It's not, you think your cup of coffee is just a cup of coffee. To you it is, but to some people, it's like this whole different world of quality coffee. There's just so much that goes into it. And it's really cool to see the back end of it. So again, thank you so much, Elisabeth. Any last words that you'd like to leave with the people who are new to the coffee, or they're dipping their toe into specialty coffee?
Watch some competitions. Like, it's just get on YouTube and find like a world competitor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you will be floored by some of the stuff that happens on stage. It's so exciting to watch. It's a little bit mind-blowing. I think that you should definitely check out some competitions just to see what it's about.
Yeah, it's crazy. Seriously, go to YouTube, Google it, World Championship Barista, and like just have your mind blown. Again, Elisabeth, thank you for joining us. This edit and this episode will be on YouTube tonight. So if you missed it, you can watch it. It'll be all linked there. Again, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful night. Elisabeth, have a wonderful night as well. Drink a cup of coffee tomorrow thinking, should I be a competitor? Just kidding. No, you're not ready. You're not ready for it. You haven't done everything. There's too much.
You're never ready. You just do it, okay?
You just do it, okay?
Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. Just do it.
Yes.
Perfect.
Right, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Thanks, guys.